Welcome to this new episode of The Disabled Life. The purpose of this podcast is to tell people how I live my life. The name I'm using on the podcast now is The Disabled Guy, because I felt that you needed to hear something as opposed to just my voice there. I'm a disabled male living in Florida with cerebral palsy. I'm here to tell you how I live my life and some of the volunteer work that I do and how I manage to do it with cerebral palsy. Without further ado, let's go into the episode. Well, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me yesterday, the 9th of February. For those of you that will listen to it in the future, sorry. Well, I had to go to the doctor. I have to go to a place ahead of Florida. It is far away. So, my mom does not like to drive to that location because it's very far. Expressways and highway need to be used. She does not like to drive on that. So she and I took special transportation. She is qualified by them as my personal care attendant, which I normally don't need, but I use it when I go to the doctor, etc. So, that's the background. So, on Monday, I called them and I asked them, and I tell them that I need a reservation for Thursday, which is fine, because you can do a reservation from 1 to 7 days prior to the time you need a trip. For example, I can make a reservation Sunday for Monday, and that'll work. But when I know I'm going somewhere, I prefer not to do that. I prefer to do the reservation. Sorry, I almost said episode beforehand, so I can check times and things after they do things. So, my appointment was at 10 a.m. So, I told them that was an appointment time. So they went ahead and gave me a time of 8 a.m. for them to pick me up. So I call, and I call in the morning and I check, and they tell me he's going to be a little late. He's running late. So then I call again, and they tell me that he's going to arrive. Wait, before that, there's a window time from 30-minute window time. So if my pickup time is at 8 a.m., at 8:31 I can call them and tell them that they're late. So 8:31 comes around and I call them and I say my ride is late. They document it. They tell me how long it's going to be. They say it's going to be 20 minutes. Okay, I am not happy with that, but I can't do anything about it. So then I call again and it gets later and later and later. So then finally at 9 o'clock, which is an hour after my pickup time, I call them again and I tell them my ride is late. It's more than an hour late. So, but I still go because as a doctor's appointment, I don't want to miss this because I don't want to start all over again. So I get there, and it's okay. I get there in enough time to see my doctor. So after I get there, everything is fine. I wait there. Then I know that you can, once they're late, 31 after 30 minutes late, 31 minutes late, you can call them and make it into a late vehicle. So I call them and I'm here, So I ride, and because of all this stuff going on, my blood pressure's up a little bit because when you're waiting for a ride, sorry, and it doesn't come, it's stressful, it's annoying, whatever. So then I go to the doctor. The medical assistant checks my blood pressure, does all that stuff, her vital signs. She tells me your blood pressure is a little high, you're a little bit tachycardic. So she asked me if I have high blood pressure, which I don't. It is in my family, but I don't have it. So to make a long story short, when the doctor comes in, I talk to her and she tells me, oh, your blood pressure's up a little bit. I tell her, oh, I had a morning stressor. I explain what it was. I had a cup of coffee. So all that raises your blood pressure. Sorry. So I get home. Immediately after I get home, I decide that I have to call the county. The county is who oversees the special transportation contractor. So I call them and I tell them what is going on. So they turn it into not a late vehicle, late vehicle additionally with a trip denial. What that means is if they're an hour late, the contractor does not receive payment except for $350 that we have to pay them. But I disagree with something. Why should I have to pay them a fare of $350 when they're an hour late? I don't agree with that. But oh well, that's neither here nor there. That's a rule that I cannot deal with. That's okay. That rule is a rule and I have to deal with it. So I call them and they do a trip denial. And the lady that answers the phone was very apologetic. I'm sorry. And okay, so she filed such complaint. So, but why I'm telling you this is because I feel that this service needs to be revamped because I don't agree with certain things that this service is. I don't think that they should start their 30-minute window at the time you request your pickup time. I feel, for example, that if my pickup time is at 8 o'clock, like I'm using this example, their window time should start from 7:30 to 8 because they can make us late. I was super late to this appointment. And I'm not going to stay here, but the driver was doing other things that were not correct. But I just decided not to report those things. So, I tell you, this is not something I am happy with. So this is something that I live through, and I'm happy that we have the service. But I am not happy that we have to deal with these unnecessary problems. So, the complaint will be responded to by the county 10 days from yesterday, which is the 29th of February. So, this one is going to be a 2-part episode. I did not expect that. But I realized that the best way for you to understand what I am going through at the moment and what we go through is I'm also going to tell you what their response is. So there's times that we will call and say, for example, that they are playing music, talking on the phone, etc. And their response is no, they're not. We as writers know that they did that. Why would we take time and file false complaints that are valid? Why? I don't let that stand. What I do is when somebody tells me that these vehicles have cameras that are recorded by the main trip company, I believe it is. So I will say to whenever they say something that I know is wrong, I will say, I disagree with findings, review cameras, and they will respond back to me 9 times out of 10 with, "Oh, I'm sorry." Let me give you a prime example of one of those. One day I was going to a place in Doral, Florida. I give them the address where I'm going to, and they say, and remember, in this place there could be multiple pickups. So I didn't say much when he was going a different direction. So he gets to this house, this gated community. It's a house. He opens the doors for the lift because I ride in a wheelchair. So then I say, "Are you picking somebody up here?" He says, "No, you drop off here." I said no. So I verbally give him the address again where I'm going. Then he gets back in the vehicle and we go. So I do the correct thing. I file the complaint and he responds. I noticed immediately. So when they told me that, I said no. I disagree with the finding because I told him and doors were open. My definition of immediately is looking at the address when you get to a place and getting out of there because you realize that you are in the wrong spot. So he did not respond immediately. Notice immediately. Sorry. What would have happened if I was blind, if I was autistic, nonverbal? So what would have happened? I don't know. I know I would have gotten dropped off there and I would have been left stranded in a place where I don't know where I was been at. But luckily I am not. I've had many instances like this where I have to deal with things that I shouldn't have to deal with. So another quick story on this so you understand where I'm coming from here is one day I was at a place in Homestead, Florida. So I get a phone call while I was doing exams, and they say the driver is there. So I say to a fellow proctor of ours, I said, "Could you please go outside and tell the driver that I'll be out in 5 minutes, because we have a 5-minute window to get out to a location. They have to wait 5." So he comes in and tells me the driver is not, no one's there. I said, "Okay, I will deal with this as soon as we finish." So we get outside of the place. I'm still inside the building with glass door. So I go and I call, and the person that their customer service representative that answers the phone without asking questions or anything says to me that the driver's tired of waiting for me. And I said, "Where is he?" And he goes, "It's at a house." I said, "No, ma'am, it's not a house. I gave her the address. I told her where it was. I gave her the name of the building." So he had to drive to me. But what I'm saying is, these people are not. In this complaint instance, I complained about it, of course. And you know what their response was? To tell him to use his GPS. But that doesn't help if somebody gets stranded. What would happen if somebody would have gotten in that vehicle while he was waiting there? Or I would have gotten a no-show and I would have had to dispute the no-show, and it would have been a pain. So now you see all the problems and things that we deal with to go do things independently. With that, thank you for listening, and I will be back with a follow-up episode of the second part of this in 10 days from yesterday. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this.